Hi everyone, this is Pastor Jamie Crook. It's our Wednesday devotional. We're reading through the letters of the Apostle Paul. We're in 1 Corinthians. Hopefully you read 1 Corinthians 1 through 6, then 7 through 11 last week. This week I'd like to encourage you, challenge you, spur you on to read 1 Corinthians 12 through 16, 5 chapters. Just a few thoughts on the very famous 1 Corinthians 13 today. If you've ever been to a wedding, you've probably heard 1 Corinthians 13. It starts out this way. It shows us the priority of love. If I speak in the tongues of men and of angels, but have not love, I'm only a resounding gong or a clanging bell. Then it goes on, if I have the gift of prophecy, and verse 3, if I give all I possess to the poor. Basically, what these first three verses are saying is that if you have great eloquence and can woo and wow crowds, if you have great insight and you can fathom all mysteries, if you have knowledge, if you have degrees from all over, and if you have great faith, and if you give everything that you have to the poor, and even give your life up in martyrdom, but you don't do it in and out of love, it adds up to bong, a clanging gong, zero. Don't miss this. Paul is echoing what Jesus said. The greatest commandment is love God and love other people. And if you don't do that, bong, it adds up to zero. Don't miss this. The priority of life is to love. No matter what else we do, no matter how great our gifts are, no matter how spiritual we may look, no matter how generous we may seem and are, if we don't have love, it all adds up to, I won't do it again. Bong. So then it goes on to tell us the practices of love. If the first three verses tells us the priority of love, well, what does that look like? Love is patient. Patient. It means to suffer long. Love is patient. Love is kind. Doesn't envy. Love doesn't boast. It's not proud. Love is not rude. Love is not self-seeking. It's not easily angered. Think of Jesus. He got angry. In his anger, as Paul would say, he didn't sin, and he wasn't easily angered. Love gets angry. Love should get angry, but it's not easily angered. It keeps no record of wrongs. It always forgives. Love does not delight in evil, but rejoices in the truth. It always protects, it always trusts, it always hopes, it always perseveres. You know, I've memorized this, and I've preached on this, and I've taught on this. It's so much easier to preach and to teach and memorize it than to do it. But this is where our faith shows itself or doesn't show itself. Here is where our faith shows itself to be genuine or not. Where we learn to love is in relationships. Where we learn to love is in relationships. And that's why love is so hard. And that's why many of us never fully learn to love. Love is patient, meaning it's patient with someone else. I can be so patient when I'm not in relationships. One other thing I want to highlight. Sometimes, and especially if you grew up in a family system like I did that shoved things under the rug, we think that truth-telling and loving are not the same things. But Paul says, love does not delight in evil, but rejoices with or in the truth. To not tell the truth, to not demand truth-telling, is not to be loving. Truth-telling and kindness go together. As Paul would say, we learn to speak the truth in love. But when we ignore the truth about ourselves, when we ignore the truth about others, when we ignore the truth about our country or our church, that's not loving. And I love how he ends, at least in verse 8, love never fails. Love never fails. We fail, but the God who is love never fails. So my hope and prayer for you today my hope and prayer for me and for Arden Christian Church is that we'll learn how to love, that we'll remind ourselves that the priority of life, ahead of success, ahead of gifts, is to learn how to love. And I hope and pray that you'll meditate on verses 4 through 7 and go through each one of those and pray, Lord, help me to be more patient. Help me to be more kind. Help me not to be envious, etc., etc. God's grace and peace be with you today, as today and this week you focus on learning how to love more and more. Amen.